It says I'm live. I never believe it because I don't see that screen. There's this delay of like 8, 10 seconds or so. So I never know if I'm really here. But I'm here now. I wait till I at least see that and I know it's here. So welcome. Episode 99. 99. I've been doing this 99 days in a row. And I still haven't made anybody happy. So it's been a very wild day. I've got pages of stuff. Look at this. 1, 2, 3 full and a quarter. Lots of stuff happened in rock history and such today. You know, we've got a full moon. We lost Keith Moon. We dealt with the police with message in a bottle, and I dealt with the police. Yes. So we'll get to all that. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out and joining me once again for this. If you haven't been here recently, I've changed the format slightly. I've tweaked it. I said I would get there and I just kind of did. So I tweaked it. So there's no more today is National whatever day. Gone. Just I don't even look anymore. I've moved on. Less history when it comes to world affairs like Queen Elizabeth and who invented the Oldsmobile. Except I do have one tonight, which I found. Because again, if I find something I find really interesting that I'm like, oh, quirky, I'm going to put that in. But I'm sticking mostly with music, albums, singles, bands, releases, births, deaths, all that stuff. When it comes to the music world, I've kind of honed in a little bit. And maybe some acting, maybe some movies and TV, just to because there's some stuff that's pertinent to me and otherwise maybe you. So there it's at. So should we get to the fun stuff first today? Fun stuff. So yesterday, if you were here, if you watched, if you paid any attention. So yesterday I showed you guys this, I believe, right? So this was the door that someone attempted to break into the radio station building. But they didn't get in. I was like, my deterrence worked. I had taken care of putting a lot of deterrence in place long ago. Bolts on doors and bars and chains and just, you can't get in. Okay, I made it so you couldn't get into the building. I went down there today to go check on things, and I had to deal with this. Yes, I had to have the po-po in the house, guns drawn. I did not take any pictures of that. I did not think the appropriateness of these fine Columbus Police Department officers carrying shotguns and handguns loaded, armed, and going through and clearing the building. So apparently someone decided that they would, and this was even beyond my thought process. They climbed onto the second floor balcony, which it goes around the building because it was that old Swiss club look, and smashed out the window, unbeknownst to anybody, because obviously no one did, and got into the building last night and ransacked the building. And I mean, fucking ransacked it. Every drawer, everything. So I don't even know how much stuff's missing. But they got away with a lot, including cutting. I mean, these guys must have been tweakers because they stole stuff. They stole booze and stuff from my office. Memorabilia is gone. I know it is for sure. They cut the main electrical cables. They pulled like the whole junction box. I've got 3-phase service, so there's huge cables. Cut those. So it's just a mess. It was just a mess. So yeah, I opened the door and immediately saw something and I was like, this wasn't here yesterday. And I looked and I saw like the door looked like, cause I called 911 and sure enough, they didn't find anybody in there, but yeah, smashed out window on the second floor, which I never expected. Really? You climbed up like into the trellis and smashed out like right on Front Street, the window, and got in and everything else. Guitars are ripped off the walls. So yeah, so that was my joy. That's what I had to deal with for hours today. And then I had to board up the building. So I'm up there in a ladder with saws, and I cut down all the trees, and I had to put plywood on it like a hurricane. I'll bring all the pictures and show you all tomorrow. I just am in no mood tonight. Sorry. There's a song about kick 'em when they're up, kick 'em when they're down, kick 'em when they're up, kick 'em all around. That's how I was feeling today. Okay, so let's get right into it. I got a lot of historical stuff today when it comes to music. We'll start in 1968 when Led Zeppelin debuts their very first performance. They were actually billed as the New Yardbirds because remember, Jimmy Page came from the Yardbirds. So they were billed as the New Yardbirds. They played for about 1,200 people in Copenhagen, Denmark, for students at the Ungard School Teen Club in Copenhagen, Denmark. 6 weeks later, they changed their name to Led Zeppelin. But today was the very first day they did that in 1968. Our friends Led Zeppelin. In 1976, and I'm going to remember, I'm jumping all over the place because I go to different resources and I just don't, condensing it to the exact order, that's not happening. So I'm going to be like old, new, current, past. It's a mess. So bear with me. I try at least give you the year so there's historical content to when it occurred. 1976, George Harrison is found guilty of subconscious plagiarism. Okay? Subconscious plagiarism. Not blatant, but subconscious. I subconsciously plagiarized it. Isn't this plagiarizing? I didn't know that there was degrees of that. I guess if you're George Harrison, you get away with that. But he plagiarized He's So Fine for his song, My Sweet Lord. He's so fine, my sweet Lord. I was like, okay, yeah, I could see that. Subconsciously plagiarizing that, George. I didn't see what the fine was or anything. I didn't look. I just didn't. But I was like, all right, interesting enough. In 1988, Metallica releases their fourth studio album, And Justice for All. As the same year, the fifth MTV Music Awards, In Excess wins it. Remember, called In Excess. We lost the lead singer to a little autoerotic asphyxiation. Hey, whatever floats your boat, man. You know, I'm not the whole choke me thing kind of guy, but just so you know, 1996, on this date, Tupac Shakur is shot multiple times in the drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He dies 6 days later. Still, the mystery of Tupac is out there. We don't know who has killed Tupac. We know that he, in fact, was shot in Suge Knight, and a whole bunch of other people have been accused of it. There's all sorts of speculation and rumor, but I don't think there is still to this day ever been definitive proof of who killed Tupac. Michael Jackson celebrates 30 years as a solo artist in Madison Square Garden in New York City with a giant celebration with all sorts of illustrious stars. This happens in 2001. Michael Jackson. Lots of celebing for Michael. Now, this was a good one because I went to this. In 2003, Farm Aid occurs. And where does that happen? Columbus, Ohio. Who knew? It was an amazing show. We had Willie Nelson, John Mellencamp, Neil Young, Dave Matthews, Hootie and Blowsis, Sheryl Crow, and a few others. I remember that show because I remember seeing Willie, and he was a really good performance. Neil was there, and it was a lot of fun. But yes, Farm Aid came to Columbus, Ohio. I mean, that induced, in Columbus, eventually you have to find things that happen here. Like I talked about the Cranberries zombie video last night that was shot and filmed here. And the audience member in the front row that was passed out during it. That guitar was not stolen today, just so you know, because I had already given it to the winner, even though she was passed out. Yes. Bruce Springsteen in 2016 performs the longest show in America, 4 hours and 4 minutes. He did that at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. even beat the Foo Fighters. And I've seen Dave Grohl crank it out for about 3+ hours, but 4 hours and 4 minutes was the longest American show at that time. I don't know if someone's beat him. You know, you do a filibuster of songs, but good old Bruce belting out the hits for 4 hours. In 2018, Eminem breaks the 36-year-old UK chart record for consecutive #1 albums that was jointly held by ABBA and Led Zeppelin. And that was Aloha, hi Don. So that was beating that. Don, who I just said aloha to, I was with having hot dogs at GD Ritzy's before I went down to the station and found all the damage and destruction. So it's Don's fault. It's actually not Don's fault because Don inspired me to go down to the station. So I did, or I would not noticed it until I went down tomorrow because I have to go down tomorrow. And who knows if they went back tonight and, would have ransacked further. I'm sure they would have. I'm sure they'd have been like, hell man, we're going right back, get more stuff. Amazing. Amazing. 2018, I just put this in because it made me laugh. So Cardi B and Nicki Minaj got into a physical brawl at a fashion event in New York City. Okay, that must have been fun. Catfighting bitches. I mean, just one time, I'll bring this up because one time Tom Butler, he used to work at the radio station with me, Tom Butler, a friend of mine, love Tom Butler. We were leaving late night when we were at 503 South Front Street. And this was back when the parade was happening. This is when all the bars were in the brewery district, not the arena district. Arena district had not really blossomed yet. So the brewery district had like 24 bars right around the radio station. So we would call it the parade each night because we'd just sit there, We'd open up the double doors and sit in lounge chairs, usually drinking beers and laughing at just this throng of people that come stumbling by every night. And, you saw everything, people peeing on the walls and it just was funny. But anyway, leaving one night, we come around the corner and there are two girls brawling. I mean, brawling. And their boyfriends or cousins or something were standing there watching. And I mean, these two girls were hand, hair, punching, ripping their shirts off. I mean, to the point where they were topless at one point, just like beating each other. I mean, Tom just stood there. We literally just stopped, kind of looked at each other, and we both kind of went, catfighting bitches. Just so nonchalant about the whole thing. Because, I mean, I wasn't going to jump in the middle of that. There was no way. And there was boyfriends there, and they eventually broke it up. But we just kind of stood there for a minute, looked, and we were like, catfighting bitches. And we've joked about that for years since then because it was just so ridiculous. I mean, it was just, you can only imagine it. Anyway, so the whole Nicki Minaj, Cardi B thing just made me think about catfighting bitches. Sorry if that's not appropriate talk, but it fit the time. So I'm just reminiscing of that time. Okay. I'm not like trying to be derogatory or anything at this moment. 1979, I just did it because Entertainment and Sports Programming Network launches. ESPN. That's when they launched on this day in 1979, September 7. And their first show, Sports Center. Of course they did, because it's the fall, it's football. Why wouldn't they? It's the best time to do it, I imagine. 1991, a TV sitcom about a struggling radio station debuts. WKRP in Cincinnati hits the airwaves. Oh, man. We never equated ourselves to that. But we were definitely a struggling radio station in Columbus, Ohio that had a lot of those same issues and completely different. But at one point we did have a Herb Tarlick. We really, really did. I don't know if we had we definitely had Johnny Fever. We definitely had Johnny Fever for sure. And we did have a Bailey. We actually had a Bailey, so there was a Bailey. So yeah, and I probably was Mr. Carlton. I didn't have a crazy mom though, but that was enough. In 2006, Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan premieres in Toronto. Good old Borat. You gotta love that silliness. Sacha Cohen, Baron Cohen, who got away with all the shenanigans that he did for as long as he did. In 1993, Chevy Chase had a late show, Late Night with Chevy Chase. And it did last 6 weeks before they canceled it because he was a jackass. I mean, you read everything you read about Chevy Chase. I don't know where that comes from. Super funny, but super surly. Where do you get all that salt, Chevy? And then 2023, from that 70s show, Danny Masterson is sentenced to 30 years to life with 2 rape convictions from 2003. Peace! Out he goes. All right, more stuff. And remember, I told you, completely out of order, since it's just going to be like that. Boo, people suck. Yeah, people do suck. Whoever broke in sucks. And it better not be someone listening that I gave them information. But I mean, the building was secured. NBC4 has been promoting this thing. I mean, what are you going to do, right? I mean, really, I can't do anything about it. It's kind of the way the world is. I learned long ago that I've lost my when it comes to things that I can't really affect. I kind of am like, okay, yeah, well, it is what it is. I did everything I could to secure that building. I mean, I really did. I mean, I put chains on the doors. I put padlocks and deadbolts and, you name it. You couldn't get into that building. And no one's expecting you're going to smash out a window. I mean, on Front Street, it's right there. It's like, okay, the cop saw it, pulls up and he's like, front window smashed out. I'm like, so it is on the 2nd floor. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking at ground level, like, how did someone get in? Because none of the doors are damaged. I even kind of looked, I'm like, no, they couldn't. Yeah, I didn't think that they would actually go up to the 2nd floor, be able to get in the door and smash in that. They did get lots of fingerprints, though, because they weren't really smart, because there was a giant piece of glass that was covered in dust, and you can clearly see where they grabbed the glass and moved it. You can see where they grabbed the TV and lifted it up to steal the Xbox. Sorry, Laura. Your Xbox got stolen. Sorry. And even one of the guitars, they ripped off the wall. They broke the neck of it. But you could see clearly because it was up there and there was dust and there was a whole handprint where they grabbed it. You can see their thumb on the front side and their forefingers on their palm on the back side where they grabbed it and twisted it and snapped it off the wall. So if these guys are in the system, they said, oh yeah, it might take them months. Definitely not like crime TV shows like, oh, we'll get those fingerprints for you immediately. Yeah, NCIS, it's not. He said this could take months, but I'll try and push it through. They were very nice, just so you know. The CPD guys were super nice. They were all fans of the station. The one guy was like, oh my God, he goes, I was your biggest fan. I love the station so much. He knew everything about it. They were like in awe of the building too. They were just like, this is so cool. I'm like, yeah, it was cool. It was when it was actually the radio station. Anyway, 1957, Elvis, #1 in the UK for the soundtrack album his first ever, Loving You. In U.S. chart topper for 10 weeks is #1. That's his first soundtrack, not his first #1. It was his first soundtrack. 1957, Sam Cooke, Send Me, debut single, tops the Billboard R&B and pop charts. You send me. I was like, yeah, Sam Cooke, man. I listened to that. I did listen to Sam Cooke. Because I try and listen to all the music that I can while I'm doing this. I'd sit there and I go to YouTube and hit the YouTube music. So I'm just like, yeah, listen to a little Sam Cooke. It's beautiful stuff. 1965, the Rolling Stones finished recording Get Off My Cloud. They finished it today. But they released it 2 weeks from now, and it topped the charts in the US, the UK, Canada, Germany, and South Africa. I don't know why it's so specific for some, and others it says countries. Just telling you, just reading it the way I write it. That's all I can tell you. In 1968, The Doors, third album, Waiting for the Sun, which I just finished listening to, they received their first #1 single ever for Hello, I Love You, which is the title track of Waiting for the Sun, believe it or not. It was the first one. I was like, oh, who knew? So that's their first number one for Hello, I Love You on this day in 1968. In 1978, like I said, today is the full moon, and we lost Keith Moon. Keith Moon, legendary drummer of the band The Who, dies of a drug overdose at the age of 32. So he missed the whole, your famous kind of 27, but still rock and roll drug overdose guy, Keith Moon. Didn't read much more about that. Just unfortunate. 1985, David Bowie and Mick Jagger start 4 weeks at number one for their single, Dancing in the Streets. Now, remember that song? I was just never a fan of it. I don't know. I remember I was just like, no, I don't know. Bowie and Jagger together just seemed a little weird. Like I was, no, I'm not a fan. I guess just didn't do it for me. Didn't send me. Thank you, Sam Cooke. My Sam Cooke reference will be here all night, ladies and gentlemen. Please try the veal and don't forget to tip your waitstaff. 1987, Pink Floyd released their 13th, something like that. Yeah, 13th studio album. This one without Roger Waters. Momentary Lapse of Reason. It sells over 10 million copies, and it hits number 3 in the U.S. Very large release, but the first one without Roger Waters, of all things, which seems interesting because we just talked about Roger Waters yesterday because it was his birthday. You release it right after his birthday. Happy birthday, Roger, and to you, because we're releasing this album without you. I mean, it seems like that to me. It's really coincidental because the next one, or in a couple, the next one, it's not coincidental because it's coincidental. So in 1994, Weezer releases the single Buddy Holly. Now, on birthdays, today is Buddy Holly's birthday. He would have been 89. When they released this, he would have been 58. So Weezer released the song Buddy Holly on his birthday as a tribute to Buddy Holly. So see, sometimes I think they do these things with intention because that doesn't seem like that's a coincidence. Because in fact, they did it on purpose because they said so. And the Bowie Jagger song as Casingle. Casingle, that's funny. A Casingle. I don't know if I have any Casingles left. I certainly don't at this moment. 2002, Coldplay hits their second number one in the UK for the album A Rush of Blood to the Head, also in 9 other countries. See, so I didn't have the list, just 9 other countries. So I don't know if that was the US. Probably not, though, because it says the UK. It would normally say the US and the UK if it was the big countries. So it might have been somewhere like, Belgium or something. I don't know. It just didn't give me that list, and I don't know where to go find that, and I really don't have the time or the wherewithal to do that. 2003, Warren Zevon dies. Warren Zevon, if you remember, did Werewolves in London, which one of my favorite lines ever is about the werewolf. Go to Trader Vic's, and his hair was perfect. I love that line. And his hair was perfect. Right? Wouldn't a werewolf in London have perfect hair? You would think, right? Because he's a werewolf and it's London. He also did Lawyer, Guns and Money, other songs. So it's like Warren Zevon. I did listen to that too. I had to because I was like, yes, I have to listen to American, Werewolf in London. Not American Werewolf, just Werewolves of London. I keep thinking American Werewolf in London. That's the movie, not to be confused with Werewolves of London. Just so you know. 2013, Avenged Sevenfold. I know, Avenged Sevenfold. 6th album, Hail to the King, is number 1 in the UK, as well as US, Canada, Brazil, Finland, and Ireland. See, that one was listed. So when it says 9 other countries, I think it has to be like smaller countries, like really small countries. Not that some of these are gigantic, but 2017, Taylor Swift Also in 2017, Queens of the Stone Age, Villains, their 7th album tops the UK charts. See how I glossed over that one? I told you that's what's going to happen. I'm just like, nope, just not going to do it. Don't know about Taylor Swift. Don't care a whole lot about Taylor Swift. Just not going to do it. No hate. Just so you know, it's not like I'm hating. I just have no interest because I'm not a Swiftie. That's all it is. No hate. Just not that guy. 2018, Lenny Kravitz released his 11th album, Raise Vibration. Now, oddly enough, I might go see him this weekend. Just saying. Not 100% sure, but he is playing somewhere at a festival that I may be going to. Fingers crossed. Keep me posted, because that will disrupt this whole thing. At least a little bit. Potentially. It may not. I don't know. I'm confused about how it's going to work, but, you know, hey, I've made weirder things happen or work or whatever. 2018, Mac Miller also left us. He died at 27 of a drug overdose. Now, see, had he hung on to another year, he could have been in the 27 club. But no, he decided not to make it. He OD'd at 26. So, I mean, you know, if you're going to do that, you might as well at least get in there and get that little extra bit of death fame. The 27 Club death fame, right? In 2019, Lizzo and Taylor Swift. You know, I was going to do that, right? Just going to be like, because again, it's Taylor Swift. And Lizzo, I just was like, yeah, okay. Again, it's not that I'm just, you know, not hating. Just, I don't, okay. Just doesn't interest me. That's all. It's like I'm not putting anything about, every time I see something about country music, I'm like, not me. Sorry. 1987, Pet Shop Boys released their 2nd album, Actually. See, we're just jumping around because, again, I've got no particular order. The whole thing is just lost in time. 2018, Bruce Springsteen releases Chicago, September 30th, 1999. Guess what? It was a live album. I mean, did it take a rocket science to figure that one out? It didn't. It didn't. I figured it out. We already talked about 1987, Pink Floyd releasing Momentary Lapse of Reason. 1973, Frank Zappa, who we talked about his Dweezil Zappa birthday, and the Mothers of Invention release One Night Sensation, and that's a single. Oh, no, that's not the album One Night Sensation. Good old Frank Zappa. Now, what the hell? I'm looking at the camera, and the timer I didn't even see the timer. So, totally my bad. Wow, that was complete. I was looking, paying attention. I was kind of, doing one of these, and you saw me looking. No, wasn't there. Did I mention that I had to deal with the police today? That I had interaction with the police. Well, on this day in 1979, the police message in a bottle. Whoops, sorry, my bad. I don't know what happened there. I just really funked that one up. All right. Anyway, speaking of police, on this day in 1979. Sorry. The police message in a bottle is released. It's their first of 5 number ones. First of 5 number ones that they receive. There was a long thing about it. The whole history and story behind the message in the bottle, about Sting writing it, about what it meant and everything else. Thank you for the police segue. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I figured, the whole Full Moon, Keith Moon, the police song, the police story. I'm trying to keep it going. And Don's being mad at me because I totally don't have it. I left it upstairs. So sorry, Don. Tomorrow I'll get with that one. 1965, Bob Dylan releases his single Possibly 4th Street, which then comes out, and Dylan's Greatest Hits, which was released in March of 67. Also on this day, he released another single from a Buick 6, which shows up on an album that actually was released earlier in the month on August 30th, or late last month on August 30th. But the single was released afterwards, if that makes sense. And then, of course, we talked about our friend Buddy Holly, who was born on this day. And Weezer released the song Buddy Holly on this day in 1994. Also born on this day, I see born because I've got a little bit more left on the born page because I didn't completely miss all the born. Margot Chapman of Starline Vocal Band. Now, if you know what song it is, you get extra credit for your knowledge on that one. I believe, what was that song? That was in some silly movie. Anchorman, they sung that song together. The group of the guys sung that one. Margaret Chapman from the Starland Vocal Band. Sorry, I didn't bring liquid again down tonight. Afternoon Delight. Sky rockets in flight. Afternoon Delight. That was 1957 that Margot was born. 1964, Eazy-E. Eric Lynn Wright from NWA. Happy birthday to Eazy-E. Also today, Grandma Moses' birthday today. So see, if Grandma Moses can, have her career start at like 70 something, I could do this. I could be a social media influencer. I'm not going to say it. Almost said how old I am. Damn it. Also on this day, birthday is Paul Brown, coach from the legendary Cincinnati Bengals, legendary coach of the Cleveland Browns, Paul Brown Stadium. That's a whole thing. Paul Brown. I'm not from Ohio, but even I know who Paul Brown is. And then deaths on this day. Just a few. Well, we talked about Warren Zevon already. And we talked about Keith Moon already. And Robert Earl Jones. You know Robert Earl Jones. The guy had that voice, just, like, good evening. Just AI needs to have the Robert Earl Jones voice so you can use that for things. You want to have your phone answered by Robert Earl Jones, Always played those very serious actor roles. Never, he was definitely, again, like I said, not a comedic role typically. I don't believe he was in for a lot of that. I always had that very serious, that deep baritone voice. And then the last one this is one of those ones that I was like, wait, really? I didn't think it, but you have to, you get named for something. So Uziel Gal died on this day. Now, who's Uziel Gal? He invented the Uzi. I was like, wait, that's named after someone? Yeah, for real. Uzi invented the Uzi. The Uzi submachine gun. Yeah, so that's actually, again, you think, why is this named this? Yeah, because there was a dude named Uziel Gal, and he named the damn gun after himself. Whatever, man. That's one of those ones I was like, okay, I found it interesting, so I shared it. Because who knew? So yeah, let's see. Oh, I can go to, I did not have all the pictures of all the stuff, so I will tomorrow. My friend Dave even shot a video of me cutting down the bushes because I was just in a mood. I was like, okay, I'm just like scorched earthing this biatch. I just cut down all the bushes in front of the building, like piled into a big pile. He's like, the city's going to come by and they're going to be like, screw, don't care. I just don't. I was like, we have to go to Lowe's and go get a bunch of plywood. I've got to climb on a ladder and cut wood and hurricane up the building. Well, it's definitely hurricane proof now. We'll see if it's burglar proof. Did I mention I was the co-star in something? My cameos in Heinz Verified's Day Trippin' with Stephen He. Please check it out. I did not get a chance to look at the comments today. Just because today I don't know, for some reason it was an off day altogether. It's because it's the full moon. It's what it is. I know it is. I knew the full moon was coming like 3 days ago because it definitely affects me. I'm one of those people that the moon just, I don't sleep well. I think it's just because it just pulls at me like, so I'm just, there. So yeah, so having to deal with the police today was just perfect. It really was. I was like, of course, I've got to deal with the cops. Call 911, and here they are with guns. It was most impressive. I was, I said, oh, by the way, there's a, and they were like, it's like, okie dokie. I'm like, I'm just not going to film this. There's no reason to. I don't want to get these guys in trouble. Oh, but they filmed everything. Just, they did have their body cams on. All 4 of them had the body cams going. And it was quite impressive to watch them, have to enter, please identify yourself. As they were yelling from room to room. Because if you've ever been in that building, it's a maze. It's also pitch black. So they had their flashlights on, because literally it's completely pitch black in that building, especially in some of the rooms that have no windows, which is most of them. But anyway, go watch this. Go comment. Just say you need more me. I need to do this. I didn't hit the lottery, so, I saw 2 people did. I didn't even look where because it wasn't me, so I don't care. Unless it's one of you, then yes, please. Get me out of this. Shit. What do you want me to do, right? I mean, really. I mean, it's that way. I made comment last night about the building because there was a whole bunch of stuff on NBC4 and everything. And, it is what it is. And I honestly, I can't really, this is not the path I chose. I've been pretty good about the path I chose through most of my life. Sure, I kind of fell down the path a couple times, literally and figuratively. But it's not like it was a planned existence. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, very structured. I kind of, okay, look, well, here's an opportunity. We'll go this, we'll do this. It's just been a very weird 18 months because this is not what I saw for my future and not really where I expected it to be. So I just have to be as flexible as I've ever been in my entire life. So yeah, so the adversity of things like today, yeah, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to have to deal with this tomorrow. I just couldn't do it today. Because it is just, it's 10,000 square feet of ransacked shit now. So now I have to deal with like, okay, what's actually missing? And what, because they weren't polite in their extraction of stuff. Let's put it that way. I mean, bolt cuttering the boxes. So even if I could turn the electricity back on now, I couldn't because they damaged the electrical panel so badly that I could not even turn the electricity back on now without having a huge fire. It would short out, 3 phases of very, high voltage, more than 120. So it's you can't do anything but laugh. I've said before, some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield. The bug, when you're the bug, you just get smashed by the windshield. When you're the windshield, you smash the bug. So I'm just bugging. But yes, I mean, honestly, if you think me the fool for laughing at all this craziness, what else am I going to do? I mean, really, that's the truth. What am I going to do? Sitting in the corner, rocking back and forth, sucking my thumb, going, that serves no purpose. That's not going to solve any of this. I've got to pull up my big boy pants, pull myself by your bootstraps and keep going. So, I go to Lowe's, I get some wood, I cut the wood, I attach it to a building, and now I hope they can't break in to the other windows, which I'm going to have to go deal with tomorrow. And, that's on the other side of the building, and then it'll be pretty secure, I guess. I don't know, and continue to now empty the stuff out that I can that's left, that I was going to save, the gold records or whatever, that what's left of it now. So it's just kind of comical. Like I said, that's how it goes. So, when you think it, never say the words, "Oh, it can't get worse than this," because it can. It really can. You can believe in karma, or you can believe in manifestation. You can believe in whatever you want, and that's okay. But, sure, it can always get worse. There's never a bottom. There really isn't. So if you think that, oh, I'm there, careful, just don't say it. Don't manifest it. So I don't think that way. I can't. I haven't for a long time, many, many, many decades. I don't think that way. So yeah, it's like, okay, it's just another bump in the road. You have to keep driving. I used to talk about events all the time, and sort of my TED Talk. I wrote this down. I've got about a half-hour TED Talk that I wrote down. I tried to think about shortly after the radio station went, all the lessons that I tried to teach people and stuff that I would repeat sort of manically over and over to everybody about delegating, about the hammock and the backpack and, the choices. One of the things I always talked about was, sort of like Sisyphus, pushing the rock endlessly up the hill. But it was related to events. Every event, and I literally brought this up on Saturday when I was talking to somebody, and I used this exact example when I was talking to someone about tailgate parties. They talked about hiring me to do tailgate parties, and that there might be a thing for me to go travel and work for one of the liquor companies traveling nationally to go set up these tailgate parties. I said, sure, let me know. I'd be interested in talking about it. I can travel. But I talked about Sisyphus, who was cursed by the gods to forever push up a boulder up a hill. And I always use that example for years at the radio station, that events were like you pushing a boulder up a hill. They were a lot of work. You had to plan these things for sometimes months in advance. And it was a lot of, exercises in futility. 3 steps forward, 4 steps back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. Like the boulder, you had to push this thing, because if you slowed down for a second, it rolled back on you. You're like, damn it. So you keep going. But there was, as not with Sisyphus, an end to this, because when that event happened, that boulder was at the crest of that hill. And it teetered there for a second, and then it would start to roll. And I always said you had a couple choices. You could stand there and watch it go, because it's going down. That's the problem with boulders and gravity. It's rolling down this damn hill, and it's not stopping for anything, okay? It really isn't. And you can equate that to any size event. You really can, because it has to be something pretty damn big, like a bigger boulder, to stop its momentum. So you can either stand there and watch it go down, never recommended. You can grab onto the bumper of the car, that I always use the example of the boulder, car being out of gas, because it was a little easier than the whole Sisyphus thing, because kids are like, what's Sisyphus? But using a car to example, because it's real world, you can watch it roll down the hill. You can grab onto the bumper and it drags you down the hill, kicking and screaming. You're probably going to get pretty beat up on the way down. Or you can make that last ditch effort at the end and jump behind the wheel. Now remember, the car's not running. It's not working. You're out of gas. So there's no power steering. There's no power brakes. The horn doesn't work. You can maybe nudge the car a little bit to the right or the left to prevent a T-bone, but you're still going to be scraped and bruised when you get to the bottom. But eventually it will get to the bottom and stop. And that was always my recommendation. You have to jump behind the wheel and deal with it. It sucks. I get it. You don't want to be doing it. You just want to be like, no, don't kill anything. It's going to... But you get behind the wheel and you deal with it, and you try to navigate your way to the bottom of the hill, and that's it. And that's how it works. So all I'm trying to do at this point is navigate my way to the bottom of the hill. I don't know what that is, what that end goal is at the bottom of the hill anymore. But it is there. So we just kind of, jump behind the wheel, hold on tight, and let's go for the ride. Okay? So in your own lives, if you have to deal with that stuff, just, I hate to be that person that, as my dad would just say, suck it up. But really, I mean, what are the other options? I mean, there are, but they're not the desirable options you want, really, if you think about it. So you have to have your own control over it, for better or worse. And sometimes it's worse, but that's the way it goes. So on those on those notes, I will leave you with that. You know, life is never one sweet song. Always troubles come along. My 90-plus-year-old grandfather used to tap his bony finger on the table and say that expression. And he was always right. Because you know what? We'll get through it. And we'll hopefully laugh as we do. I truly appreciate you guys for being here, as I do every night. For better or worse, 100 episode tomorrow. I'll try and do something special. I don't know what the hell it's going to be at this point. Maybe I'll have some memorabilia I can share stories with, because of the fact that I need to apparently get whatever shit is left in the building out and either brought home or put into a storage unit so I can have an auction and sell it, but apparently not from that space at the moment. Ah, shit. Fade to black. Ah.